While viewing our often chiseled, gruff protagonists from the waist upwards is all well and good, there's particular satisfaction that comes from viewing your target from down the scope or iron sights of your gun and popping off the perfect shot. Such a feeling is one that PS4 players only gain when indulging in a first-person shooter, which is lucky since Sony's ecosystem is home to so many genre entries that quite literally fire on all cylinders. Having a jamboree's worth of excellent PS4 FPSs, however, poses a bit of a problem, because which one should you jump into first? Well, as the PlayStation 4's tenure gradually enters retirement and PS5 exclusive shooters become more of a thing, hi Deathloop! We at Push Square thought it useful to run through the 10 best PS4 first-person shooters out there. Just bear in mind that the following 10 titles are ranked in no particular order. We're not animals after all, and they of course also play great on PS5 thanks to the miracle of backwards compatibility. Anyway, I'm Aaron from Push Square, and let's not waste any more time. It's time to check your ammo clips and unlock the safety as we prepare to lock and load on PlayStation 4. The first entry on this list might be considered an unconventional one due to the nature in which you play it, but London Studios' Blood and Truth more than earns its place by being a fast-paced and super immersive take on the Guy Ritchie gangster film. What first began life as a proof of concept in VR worlds for how well the FPS format could work in a virtual reality setting, soon flourished into its own polished thrill ride, placing all manner of gadgets and guns in your hands to place you deep within the heart of the action. Shooting up the London city streets as an ex-military agent never ceases to feel amazing. The voice acting might be pretty hammy, and some interrogation scenes may drag on a little, sure, but it's more than made up for by a near-endless supply of satisfying shootouts that let you live out that action hero fantasy. Nightclubs, building sites, and hotels are just some of the areas you get to immersively fight through. It's still by far the best first-party FPS experience on PSVR 2, and therefore PS4 technically, standing head and shoulders above the likes of Until Dawn Rush of Blood and Firewall 0 Hour. The shooter thrills never need end either, thanks to the inclusion of a cinematic mode that adds sights to your various weapons, time trials, and additional challenges you can play after beating the 5 or so hour campaign. If you haven't already, fire up a storm in Blood and Truth on PlayStation VR. Players were forced to wait a criminally long 7 years between the release of Borderlands 2 and 3. How grand, then, that it mostly ended up being worth it, with Gearbox's third official installment into its cel-shaded loot shooter series offering up even more randomised guns and plenty more planets to use them on. Yes, bigger most definitely translates to better in Borderlands 3, as teams of 4, in either online or local co-op, can shoot it up as one of 4 new Vault Hunter classes. This ensures that its mix of FPS and Diablo elements blends better than ever, as you work your way up to increasingly more powerful weapons while trying to stop the Calypso twins. Amara, Mose, Zane, and Flak each have their various skill trees and class strengths which helps make them unique, ensuring that no Borderlands 3 session ever need play out the same. After all, in what other PS4 first-person shooter can you find a gun that will let you shoot other guns? Such crazy perks, random bonuses, and elemental effects return in full force in this interplanetary threequel, only adding to Borderlands 3, easily making it on this list of the 10 best PS4 FPS games. Few first-person shooters are able to set as bleak a mood and atmosphere as the Metro franchise. Set extremely far away from the traditional sights and imagery you'd find in most Western set games, the post-apocalyptic Soviet backdrop seen throughout makes for a bitter tone that really helps to ground players in this version of Russia that is largely devoid of hope. Is Metro Exodus, therefore, a bright and bold first-person shooter full of fun set-piece moments? Absolutely not. But it is one that consistently makes you feel the weight of each weapon, as well as the task at hand, as you must trek your way through a nuclear wasteland and survive while venturing above ground for the very first time. The new open-world structure present in Metro Exodus helps better immerse you into all 4 seasons you'll brave during this treacherous journey, encouraging you to venture off the beaten path in search of resources and precious ammunition in a world where every bullet counts. There's simply an incredible amount of detail and attention paid to each of the areas you'll visit, both of which makes battling nightmarish mutants, creatures, and hostile human factions all the more engaging. If you're a player seeking the anti-Call of Duty FPS, you'll most certainly find it in Metro Exodus. Look, Titanfall 2 was done dirty. Nobody here would dispute that, but it says a lot that despite being sent to die by EA, thanks to its own sandwiching between the release of both Battlefield and Call of Duty that year, Titanfall 2 casts a long shadow on PS4 by being one of the best, most explosive first-person shooters on the platform. Much of this is down to Titanfall 2's campaign, which focuses on the bond between marooned military man Jack Cooper and his mech companion BT. Together, they must foil the plot surrounding an interplanetary superweapon, all while experiencing some of the very best mission design in all of shooters. One minute you're being flung by BT off the side of a satellite dish, the next you're running across the walls of a building through a factory as it's being built. With Titanfall 2, Respawn delivers a masterclass in how to execute a flurry of awesome ideas that never outstay their welcome, constantly surprising you with a new mechanic or concept while keeping super tight first-person shooter gunplay at the heart of it all. Will we ever see a true Titanfall 3? Who knows, but until then, we'll have to make do with one of the best FPS campaigns in recent memory. Oh, and the multiplayer wasn't half bad either. Players who don't mind a bit of a grind and are dying to get lost within an expansive space opera setting found exactly what they were looking for when the first Destiny launched. Cut to 2017, however, with the launch of its sequel, and what shooter fans found was a greatly improved gameplay loop with the same solid sense of gunplay. Destiny 2 has continued to grow as an online platform for communities to thrive there ever since, with multiple expansions and additional raids released to inspire you and your clan to keep playing for longer. Destiny 2 has only grown in popularity and dominance since Bungie went independent and made the game free to play. All this would mean nothing though were it not for the strong shooting mechanics at the heart of it all. Popping off headshots against the Vex, Fallen and Hive is simply too much fun. Weapons in Destiny 2 also never fail to give you that snappy sense of feedback, regardless of if you're playing as a Warlock, Hunter or Titan. Better yet, Destiny 2 shows absolutely no sign of slowing down, especially on PlayStation 4. There's every chance that it could be the very best first-person shooter on the platform, purely for those who judge it on how much of the time you invest will ultimately be rewarded back. The promise of purple loot is simply all too alluring all these years later. Gutsy, gory, and even more words you'd expect to associate from the first-person shooter series that helped kickstart the entire genre, Machine Games' rebooted Wolfenstein games excel in balancing anarchy, emotion, and creative shooting mechanics. The foundation may have already been set in 2015's The New Order, but it was its 2017 sequel that near perfected the formula, seeing war hero BJ Blazkowicz take the fight to the Nazis back on his home turf as part of a blockbuster campaign, one that's full of explosive set-piece scenarios. Let it be said that The New Colossus is a first-person shooter revival with lots of bite. Wolfenstein 2 The New Colossus is easily the goriest PS4 FPS to grace this list, getting the blood boiling by pitting you against hordes of superpowered Nazis within a series of confined spaces. You never know when you'll be asked as Blazkowicz to shotgun a laser-wielding officer to the face or lay down an electricity trap to take down the fascist regime from afar. The New Colossus provides all the tools for you to manifest these creative moments on the fly, all whilst giving you a generous arsenal of great-feeling weaponry. Rarely has a PS4 first-person shooter so seamlessly balanced a poignant story with super smooth firing mechanics. Bethesda continued its winning streak with blood-soaked FPS games with the launch of Doom Eternal back in March of 2020. Bigger, badder, and more ambitious than the initial 2016 series reboot in almost every way, id Software's addictive brand of push-forward combat, in which you're rewarded for playing aggressively and taking the fight to your enemies, is as satisfyingly hellish as it's ever been. You return as the Doomslayer, who this time around must defend a version of Earth slowly being taken over by demons, the only way he knows how, wrecking shop with a whole host of weaponry. An arsenal packed full of mods and alternative fires helps ensure that gunplay in Doom Eternal is never dull, as does the heavy emphasis on certain attacks being tied to specific enemy types this time around. It makes for a much more thoughtful style of first-person shooting overall, one that rewards players who can neatly switch between gun, to rocket launcher, to chainsaw, and back to gun again in order to always gain the upper hand. At first it can be a lot to take in. but increased maneuverability on the Doomslayer's part helped stave off any helplessness to render this PS4 shooter the ultimate example of FPS badassery. Having already dominated the MMORPG and MOBA genres, surely it was only a matter of time before the devs over at Blizzard set eyes on the first-person shooter genre. Well, we now stand at a little over 5 years since the launch, and Overwatch is still considered to be one of the most competitive and addicting PvP shooters out there, hence why it makes our list of PlayStation 4 heavy hitters. What makes it work is just how expertly balanced each of the hero characters are, granting and opening up tactical opportunities whether you want to play defensively or at close range using a character like, say, Tracer. It also helps that each member of the Overwatch cast exudes a rampant personality all their own. The gradual introduction of new characters, maps, and modes over the years has helped keep Overwatch's community thriving. This, coupled with the kinetic tactical shooting action the game so easily provides, makes it a colourful platform that competitive FPS players can't help but regularly turn to. Several copycat hero shooters may have popped up in its wake, but overall, Overwatch still easily blazes the trail as one of the best PlayStation shooters out there. Is it any wonder we have such high hopes for the sequel? When the PlayStation 4 first launched in November of 2013, we only had 2 first-party games to play, Knack and Killzone Shadowfall. Now, while one of those games may have gone on to be considered a cultural masterpiece, Guerrilla's PS4 debut isn't anything to sneeze at either. It can still lay a claim to being one of the prettiest first-person shooters to ever grace the platform to this day, with the Decima engine doing well to believably depict the divided planet of Vector between the ISA and Helghast in as beautiful a light as possible. Leading directly on from the events of Killzone 3, Shadowfall serves as a great jumping-on point in which to enjoy the series, centering on new character Lucas Kellen and his quest to avenge his murdered father. This you must do by infiltrating across both sides of the dividing wall, using all manner of futuristic weaponry and your drone owl companion to gain the tactical advantage. It's a rollercoaster ride of a single-player campaign that features solid shooting, which also translates rather flawlessly to the game's PvP multiplayer. Killzone Shadowfall was an early indication of the success that Guerrilla would later go on to receive, being an early FPS showcase for the PlayStation 4 tech. Not to be confused with the 2007 original, though that's easily also one of the best first-person shooters of all time in its own right, this soft reboot of Call of Duty's Modern Warfare sub-brand gave us a reimagined Captain Price and a whole new global terrorist plot to topple. The result is one of the most white-knuckle rollercoaster ride single-player campaigns in all of first-person shooters, full of Hollywood-style blockbuster moments and some of the best missions from the series. 2019's Modern Warfare is a refreshing mixture of elements both old and new, laying a foundation for future installments like Black Ops Cold War and Vanguard to build off of. As well as the gripping single-player narrative, Modern Warfare doesn't disappoint when it comes to competitive multiplayer either. The traditional suite of match types is joined by the return of the much-beloved Spec Ops mode, which tasks you and a partner to play tactically in contained missions where the tension and stakes are high. For all these reasons and more, Call of Duty Modern Warfare really is the complete package and without question one of the best first-person shooters to be found on PlayStation 4. So there you have it guys, in terms of our picks for the 10 very best first-person shooter games on PlayStation 4. Do you agree, or is there something vital we missed? Be sure to let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave it a like and consider subscribing to Push Square for everything else PlayStation related. Until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.